Gang Green Report with Mike Damergis and Rob Carpenter.
Mike Damergis along with Rob Carpenter for Jets Nation Radio. And Rob, the Jets now dropped to 1-7 on the season, and nothing worse than losing the Adam Gase Bowl in Miami to a team that hasn't won the game, who hasn't won a game all year. Things are getting bad, and it's going from bad to worse to ridiculous.
You can pretty much see it actually the way the week started. That things weren't going to be working right. It's probably going to be this way for the rest of the season, as long as Adam Gase is the coach. It's going to be a different story every week. Team seems to be regressing. Darnold seems to be regressing. You know, I think the guys in the locker room pretty much is just par for the course right now, just saying, you know what, let's just finish up the season and get it over with.
Dolphins take the game 26-18. The Jets look good early on, taking a 7-0 lead, but Ryan Fitzpatrick is still around. Yukon Cornelius throws 3 touchdown passes against his old team. He was 24-36 for 288 yards. Pretty good for an old man that's looking to kind of just hang around the NFL. Meanwhile, the young gun, Sam Darnold, was 27-39, an interception that was absolutely horrific after a potential touchdown was called back due to instant replay. I mean, that was one of the worst plays they've ever seen for a quarterback to just throw a ball up like that, Rob.
You would probably think by now, as many games as he's been in and as many games as he's watched, you know at that point, just tuck the ball and take the sack. You know, take the 3 points instead of just throwing the ball up, especially under duress like he was. And then it kind of just looked like he just shot-footed the ball up in the air. You had 2 receivers and 2 DBs standing in the same spot. You know, potential for disaster was right there, and he put the ball up for disaster, and it happened. But going back to what you were talking about Fitz, you know Fitz has been around a while. He's going to take shots, and
got nothing to lose. He's got nothing to lose. Why not?
Exactly.
Right? They're 0-7. He's 30-something years old, 8 years old, and what has he got to lose?
For Miami, they've been saying for a few weeks now the reason why he's the starter is because the team's getting better under him as a quarterback. And it seemed to be going in that direction for them. It just seems that they're going in one direction and Jets going in the other direction. And, you know, partly because of Fitz, I've always said he is better in this league as a backup because he goes in with that attitude, I have nothing to lose, I'm a backup. So, and he just takes shots. And he felt that his receivers had a better chance of getting the ball than the Jets DBs covering these guys. And, you know, I've seen it happen all day yesterday. So,
but it continues on with the Jets, Rob, and we're talking with Rob Carpenter, former New York Jets. It kind of reminded me of the play a little bit because it was so ridiculous, because you were on the team in 95 when Bubby Brister had the ball kind of ripped away from Sam Mills, and Sam Mills returned it for a touchdown. We're heading in that direction with this kind of team. In 95, Jets were 3-13. Following year, 1-15. We're really heading for that.
It seems that way, and it doesn't seem like there's any light at the end of the tunnel for this season. You know, unless something drastic happens, it's kind of funny. Me and you talked about this just a little yesterday as the game was going on about, you know, if they fire Gase now, who's going to be the coach? And, you know, Greg Williams could be an interim coach for the rest of the season, and it might light a spark under the team. They might win a couple of games. And
but his defense isn't playing much better. That's the whole thing. And he's outside of Mosley.
I actually was just going to say that, but on the flip side, he was brought in to, you know, revive the defense, and it's actually not working. So, you know, it could be a two-way bag with that. But Greg is an actual inspirational coach, but at the same time, I just don't think they have the players on the field to play the defense that he actually wants. He wants to actually put pressure on an offense, but he doesn't have the DBs to cover down the other side with the wide receivers. So, you know, he's in a catch-22 right now.
Speaking of bags, I saw some Jet fans in Miami there with bags over their heads. The Jets lose to a team that hadn't won a game, and it goes back to 1980. And I was at that game at Shea Stadium when the Jets lost to the Saints. The Saints hadn't won a game, and the Jets lost that game. And of course, when in 1991 when they lost to the Colts went 1-15 under Bruce Coslett, and that game he cost the Jets. So the Jet fans I don't think they care, and I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm rooting for them to lose, Rob, because I want this guy out of town. How does a guy like Adam Gase get total control of an organization like this, where he has the final say, runs everybody out of town, and this guy has proven nothing for his career?
Well, when you don't have the correct guys in the front office to start, that's how an organization actually stays in that for a long time. And we hope with the hiring of Joe Douglas that things will change. He has some big decisions to make, and I actually was hoping that it's actually started, today.
But with Joe Douglas was brought in by Gase, I mean, this is going to be, like Brutus to Caesar in a lot of ways here. If Joe Douglas is the guy that does the firing, unless the Johnson family just steps in and says no, he's got to go, and the reports are that the owner was greeting his players coming off the field yesterday, when he was clearly perturbed by the performance because they weren't ready to play, and you know what it's like to play on teams that are ready, and you know what it's like to play on teams that aren't ready.
Correct, and it just seems like guys are actually going in the building right now and saying, well, let's get this game plan, get through the week, and let's go play this game and see what happens. There's no fire in the building right now. All that has been gone for a while. And the way Gase actually, responds to the media, his press conferences have kind of turned a lot of people off. But again, that's what happens when you don't have the correct people up front to actually do the hiring. And this is pretty much what happened. It seems like this was a Chris Johnson hire from back early in the year. And for what reason? Who knows? But this is what we get.
Was it the fact that Peyton Manning endorsed this guy?
Yeah, it's very possible. And it seems like that had carried a lot of weight. But at the same time, the weight that should have been carried is what he actually did in Miami. Shouldn't have been on Peyton Manning's shoulders or endorsement for the hiring of a head coach for a team that actually was not doing well, over the past few years. But at the same time, again, Joe Douglas knows that friendships don't win games. So even though he might have been, brought in with 100% acknowledgement of Adam Gase, his job is on the line because this team isn't doing well, and he has to make the changes. So,
all right, Rob, have you met Adam Gase?
I have not.
Okay, have you been in a room with him to feel
yes.
Okay. Is his presence that of a head coach?
No.
Okay.
It's an assistant coach. To me, it is an assistant coach.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get your feeling as a former player here, because when I see this guy speak at the podium trying to cover his eyes and cover his face with his hat over his eyes, it reminds me of a teenager sitting in class with his hood on, not listening to the history teacher and not wanting to talk to anybody. I don't get it.
Right. To me, in my opinion, again, he's like an assistant coach. Assistant coaches actually want to speak to people individually or their group. They don't want to actually take the whole of an organization and actually represent the whole organization. They want to represent themselves or their group. So when I've been around during training camp and heard him speak and been in a room hearing him speak, it just seems that way.
And right now, I mean, do we dare say it now? The way Sam Darnold is performing on the season and the number of picks he's putting up is completely insane. He had a great game coming back against Dallas, and now we're looking at him with 9 interceptions on the season. Are we really looking where the Jets are possibly hoping to run the table, lose the rest of the games, and get that number 1 chance at a quarterback? Once again, we're looking for a quarterback for the 4th time this decade. Is that possible, Rob? Tell me it's not possible, please.
At this moment, there's probably going to be a lot of people in the organization that still feel that Sam is the person. And from one point, I can understand that. He's been in 2 different offenses in 2 years. That's tough for a young quarterback. So he's still trying to learn the offense that Gase actually has put in. We know he missed a good chunk of the first portion of the season. So with him being out for a few weeks during the first part of the season, he's still in that learning phase. But some of the mistakes that he's making, a rookie quarterback shouldn't be making.